I came up with the Not So Big House as an idea because I had lived in England for the early part of my life, and when I started working with architectural clients, I noticed that many of them were asking for rooms that I knew in America we just don't use. The formal living room, the formal dining room are rarely used on an everyday basis. In my home in England, we use those spaces every day. And so I started to wonder, wasn't there a better way for people to use their money than just building more and more space that they rarely, if ever, used? So the Not So Big House really came about as a way to encapsulate an idea that I felt America was ready for, and I had a feeling I could help to articulate. Over the last 10 years, since the Not So Big House was first released, people have been applying these principles throughout their houses. So what I've seen as I travel around the country talking about the Not So Big House series, what I hear from people is that they're building smaller, they're building better, and they're building houses that really represent who they are on the inside. And so their houses have become a much more supportive structure for the way that they really live. They're also making houses much more sustainably than they used to, in part because they've begun to understand that not so big is the first step in sustainability. It's really quite exciting to see what's happened. Over the last 10 years, there have been a number of influences that have occurred. Obviously, houses have in some ways continued to get bigger, which none of us really thought was possible, but they do continue to rise in size. But now there's a counter movement of books like mine that have influenced people to make houses that are better proportioned to the way that they really live. So we're really starting to see more careful design, more thoughtful design, and more architectural influence on the average home in America. One of the most remarkable parts about having written these books is that everywhere I go, and I do a fair amount of public speaking these days, people come up to me and just with a real sense of passion in their voices tell me how much their lives have changed as the result of building a not so big house or remodeling a house in a not so big way for themselves. I can't tell you how wonderful that makes me feel, because it has allowed people to really shift the way that they live and to experience something that I know is possible. Every architect knows is possible, but now people are actually beginning to experience it for themselves. And obviously today, this message of building not so big is even more important than it was 10 years ago, in that we've now got a much greater awareness of what it means to have high energy prices, to have a desire for lower overall maintenance costs in a home, and understanding that the most sustainable thing is to build a house that's going to last for the long haul, that's going to be self-sustaining and also be sustainable for you as you live in that house. And so it's a remarkable experience to just see how people are shifting to live in this not so big way. Well, I believe that if we can look into the crystal ball of the future, we'll see that houses continue to get smaller in their overall size, but much higher in quality. I think that people are beginning to realize what an important role design really plays in feeling at home in our lives. I often say that square footage has almost nothing to do with the feeling of home, and I believe that people are catching on to that, and 10 years, 20 years from now, I think our houses will be far better designed than they have been for the last 100 years.